Chapter 4. The Plan. For 3 days I worked out extensively in the exercise area. I loved swimming. It built my body as a whole, and my breathing became much stronger. I also jogged around the acreage several times a day. When relaxing, my mind would search back through the memories of my life. Most of my ideals and desires for the future were founded on my experiences. The bad ones filled me with a desire to eliminate their ever being able to reoccur again. The good ones, well, I kept trying to fuel their successors. I can't say I was in love with Rehedra, but I can't say that I wasn't. We spent the last few nights together, and during the days I saw her for breakfast or lunch. At night, we would usually just lie out in the grassy field and watch the heavens. The stars were clear, so clear that they seemed touchable, reachable. Freedom was an immaculate place. The people here weren't usually seen unless they were walking from one building to the other, looking as if nothing else but what they were doing mattered. The circumstances that surrounded my presence here were still quite vague, but after 3 full days at Freedom, I knew without doubt that my being guided to this pre-planned destiny was at least pleasant, pleasurable, and undemanding. I still hadn't seen the inside of the research building, nor had I seen Mr. Gregorio since our first encounter. I wasn't desperate to see or find out what was to come. Sooner or later, I would know. So I just enjoyed the luxuries and the freedom from the day-to-day concerns that an aspiring writer and artist always feels when seeking success. But what a story I would have to write about in the near future. A tale of spiritual love and world destiny made me dizzy at the thought. It was after a swim, when I was sitting inside of my own cabin, when the phone, I had never noticed, began to ring. "Hello?" I said in wonder. "Hi, Paul. It's Rehedra." "Hi. Can you come over and play?" I asked. "Later tonight, for sure. But right now, it's time for you to see the research building. Dr. Jason is here, and he's ready to give you a tour." My heart fell to the floor. I suddenly realized that the dessert had come before the work. 3 days of heaven, but I knew it was now time to earn my keep. After all, isn't this what I had waited for, or been brought here for? "We'll meet you at the entrance to the research building in 10 minutes. Is that okay?" "Fine. I'll see you in 10 minutes, I said, hanging up. Considering this was the middle of a California summer, I walked out into the sunshine with some white cotton pants, sandals, and a white shirt. The Dr. Jason look. Compliments of freedom. My mind went through 1,000 imaginings on the way to the building. What's in there, I thought. I wondered if what was could stand up to the images and imaginings that were turning my head. Maybe there are test subjects in there, I thought. Maybe they're experimenting with medical cures. Or maybe there are people being used as guinea pigs, and I was being fattened up to go along with their plans, too. "Oh, no!" I yelled inside my head. I didn't know what to expect. In fact, little did I know how close some of my guesses and imaginings were. I walked into the entrance, where 2 security guards stood at the door. Dr. Jason and Rehedra greeted me, and we walked past the reception area to wait for the elevator. "The first floor here is all files and libraries," said Dr. Jason. My eyes were scanning the place when I suddenly realized it was filled with more people than I had thought worked here. I tried to smile at them all as they were all focused on my presence. We entered an elevator, pushed floor number 3, and the butterflies in my stomach seemed to dance with the flighty feeling of the elevator. Rahedra, feeling my discomfort, pinched me as I stepped onto the 3rd floor. "Hey now, not so anxious," she said, smiling. I started to smile in response. "At ease, soldier. You're tense as a rock," laughed Rahedra. "Okay, at ease," I agreed. "Listen, Paul, we're about to lay a lot of it out on the table now, so to speak. But keep one thing in mind. We do not, and you should not, forget the seriousness of this project. That does not mean you should try to change your personality or stop your sense of humor. If change comes, let it come of its own. Do not change forcefully. Now, behind this partition is a room the size of the entire floor. The whole floor is open. We'll walk around a bit. I will explain what is going on, and feel free to ask any questions, okay?" Rahedra asked. We stepped behind the partition, and there was a long walkway separated by a glass wall that ran the full length of the building. On the other side of the glass were cubicles filled with water. Dr. Jason called them sensory enhancement tanks. They were situated all over the floor. Behind each one was an electronic apparatus, which, Dr. Jason said, monitored heartbeats, breathing, weight, and any other vital factors in the human body. Several men and women were checking the readings from the various monitors. Every now and then, one would see us and smile. There were several beds with wheels on them and some wheelchairs against one wall, probably belonging to the different men and women lying, or rather floating, inside the sensory enhancement tanks. "Human test subjects. I was right," I thought. However, with the calmness, the serenity of this place and the people here, I knew it wasn't abusive. In fact, the first words out of Dr. Jason's mouth clarified it without any doubt. "All these people floating in the tanks are paid volunteers chosen from extensive interviews and reviews as to their potential to succeed in this particular experiment. The men and women are either war veterans or auto accident victims. Each, aside from being paralyzed 60 to 100% because of injuries they received, is highly intelligent and healthy. As you can see, they are floating, or rather being floated, in the sensory enhancement tanks. This is done through small jet streams that propel air into the water, thus causing air to rise, which in turn holds them up. Aside from this, their paralyzed limbs, without function, float freely in the water because of much tension loss. Now for the reason they are floating there. Remember I spoke to you of astral projection?" asked Rahedra as she took over. I nodded. Dr. Jason kept his attention towards the inner room. "These people, all of whom at one time had full use of their body movements, have been at one time students of metaphysical teachings. As Dr. Jason said, after intensive reviewing of many applicants from various hospitals, these persons were selected on the basis of their strong points. Each had been knowledgeable and accepting of metaphysics. Each was highly intelligent and remained so after their being physically injured and paralyzed. And each was strong enough to have expressed a real interest in continuing a productive and useful life, even knowing their conditions were permanent. Each, through tragic means, became disabled, but didn't give up the pursuit of a productive life. They are truly remarkable. They all claim to still feel different kinds of pressure or indescribable sensations around their paralyzed body parts. However, when they are suspended in a weightless, floating position, they claim their symptoms seem to disappear. Now, after extensive research, Dr. Jason has come to believe that what they are actually feeling is not just their physical senses, which is why they can't describe what they feel. He feels the vibration of their human energy fields, such as the aura and the etheric fields, from the paralyzed areas are actually still present. You see, Paul, started Dr. Jason, as Rahedra gave him the go-ahead to continue, this is my belief, and by no means just my own personal idea. It is viewed by many others in this field as being a true theory. All things in science must be proven, so that is where freedom comes in. We are going to prove that these energy bodies do exist around the human body, and that what people at times feel is not only through their ordinary physical senses, but through their psychic senses as well. Therefore, the suspended feeling in the water helps to eliminate physical discomfort and sensation, allowing the psychic senses a clear and easy path to be realized. Induced by visual and sound techniques, the final step is to bring these people to a point that will allow them to actually separate their consciousness or soul or psychic bodies from the physical body in which they are confined. So what is happening here is you're teaching these people how to astral project from their bodies? Right, they chimed. Any success yet? Some, but we've been on this last stage for only 4 weeks. To help with their development, I was searching the Akashic records and the past lives of these people, and that is when I found you. What I discovered in the Akashic records you will learn of soon. This information I have recorded through the technology we have on the upper floor. But you see, astral projection is the only way we can actually visually capture this occurrence for all to see. You mean you were training these people to astral project to this reoccurrence? I asked. No, not at all. Let me explain. We are doing these experiments to prove one can project, that the aura does exist, and that there is life beyond our dimension. We feel that people with paralyzing disabilities would strive beyond the ordinary to succeed. Imagine if you were paralyzed, but suddenly found that you could project your consciousness anywhere within the physical world and even beyond. Wouldn't that kind of freedom be even more enjoyed and cherished by one who would be limited by their immobility? I nodded agreement. These people are essential to documenting projections and psychic abilities latent within themselves. Their conditions merit the attention of most people. Therefore, once we have achieved a percentage of success with them, we can expand to everyday persons, thus proving the theory to humanity. The part where you come in is not for the same reasons. You see, I personally have had the ability to astral project for many years now. When projecting, I can be more psychic and travel the physical realms with the speed of thought, which is actually how projection occurs. But when in my body, like now, my abilities are not as good. I can still see auras, but I am not a psychic who can master them as well as someone like Rehedra can. I am just one who happened to learn projection, which means I can move in psychic senses and leave the physical behind. Since the psychic senses are those used in projection, I am only capable of psychic abilities when projecting. Okay, but still, where do I come in? I said, realizing for the first time, by what Dr. Jason had said, that Rehedra could also see auras. As I was saying, since I am an experienced person in projection, I have long since overcome the fears and insecurities of astral travel. So when I do project, I like to travel into realms that are like libraries. These realms hold sensations instead of books, have images instead of pictures, and carry sounds that are felt and not heard as we hear. In these other dimensions, every single piece of humankind's actions throughout the existence of humanity is recorded. The dimension that I project to decides what parts of history I will pick up. There are also spirits who watch over these dimensions as a librarian watches over the library. One time, during a projection, I ran into an occurrence you were a part of in one of your past lives. It fascinated me, so I communicated with the spirit librarian, and he directed me to all of your other lives. During projection, I studied each of your incarnations in which your soul or spirit was used for manifesting itself on earth. Your spirit is the same life force that occupied all these different bodies and lives. Through more research, I found that 2 of your past lives had been involved with the same type of monumental occurrence. I found out that you were incarnated here on Earth and were likely to be part of the imminent reoccurrence. That is why I sent Rehedra to recruit you to fulfill your destiny. The way I knew the reoccurrence would come again is that events are always pre-planned. In projection, you are able to read the generalities of the Akashic records and the future. However, the individual outcomes of the persons involved are not predicted, rather recorded as they happen. I saw the event was coming again and intuited that you should be part of it. It also occurred to me that perhaps this is the true reason for freedom's existence. He just smiled. I wasn't really baffled by what he said. I was utterly amazed and fascinated. I had always considered myself a logical genius. Somehow, all this seemed logical. If anything, Freedom was obviously a multi-million-dollar organization. Who would spend millions on something they didn't believe in, I thought. After all, they were proving that the money was the least of their concerns, considering how they went out of their way to please all who worked as a participant here. Fantastic. Incredible. I assume you will want me to learn astral projection. "That's correct," he answered. "Assuming I'll be floating in one of those," I pointed to a tank, "what are the sound and visual techniques that are supposed to induce it?" "All these windows can be closed to all light by hanging partitions. We have imagery and sound computers that flash images on the ceiling and create sounds and tones essential to inducing the required state of mind. These people are working on their own experiments, which will not be disturbed. The floor above is where you will be working. Let's go see it." While heading back for the elevator, I concentrated on my past attempts of thrill-seeking, the times I had skydived, scuba dived, flown in airplanes for acrobatic thrills, even the endless number of roller coasters I had ridden on. I have a passion for excitement. "What does projection feel like?" I asked, wondering if there was any similarity to the feelings I had gotten searching for my thrills. "It's like falling through space, but there is no sensation of rushing air. There is a sensation of velocity, but if you control yourself, you can stay still or suspended anywhere you like. The real catch is visual capability of up to 360 degrees. It is possible to see in all directions at once and comprehend all you see. Unbelievable, unexplainable, but true," he shared as we entered the elevator. I could imagine the feeling of velocity happening in space everywhere, but having circular vision, when all that could presently be seen was the elevator door in front of me, definitely excited me. The fourth floor was similar to the third, except there was only one tank at the center of the room. More machines were near this tank than were near the others downstairs. Up on the far wall there was a very large viewing screen. There were only a few people in the room working on some of the equipment. We nodded to them as Dr. Jason began to speak. "As far as the techniques, they work best when done in actual experimentation. I will say that the sounds you hear for inducing projection are beautiful variations of musical pitches and tones designed to release any nervous tension. This allows your physical senses to relax completely as your psychic senses take over. The visual effects are also pleasing. There are a variety of locations, colors, and lights, something like a light show with images behind it. They are designed to transfer your attention right out of your body and into the location itself. But aside from this, which will all begin soon, your regressions to your past lives will come first. We must acquaint you with yourself as you were in both of those past lives that held such importance. After that, you will be trained enough to go back into all the other lives, if you like." Smiling, he walked towards a computer that had a small table and bed next to it. "This technology," he said, "is a product of $22 million in research and experimental costs. When you are regressed, you will be lying on your back, reclined halfway by the back part of the bed. You will be hypnotized, yet you will still be conscious. It is not a deep trance hypnosis, but one that will quiet your physical body and keep your mind fully awake through suggestion. The memory source of your brain records all conscious events that you confront. Similarly, a psychic memory source existing in your energy body does the same for all the lives you have ever lived. Just like a recorder that plays back what you may wish to see or hear, once in hypnosis, we will be able to recall specific dates from your past lives. These electronic sensor impulse meters, he said, pointing to a group of connecting wires going from the computer to the bed and to the audio machine, will be attached to various centers around your body. These centers are connected to psychic centers in your psychic body, which in turn have a vital clairvoyant function. These energy centers will relay the impulses from your psychic memory and resend them through your bodily senses, where the electronic impulses will be transformed into pictures on the screen. It's amazing what this technology can do, but after 4 years of development and research, I am still amazed by the genius of the people who built this machine. "Has this machine ever been used?" I asked. "Yes, and it's as safe as if you were just watching a movie instead of creating it yourself through your thoughts." "Do those impulse meters and sensors hurt when they're placed?" "Only like a small needle prick, but there are no after effects at all." "Where exactly are they placed?" "You've heard of chakras, haven't you?" broke in Rahedra. The psychic centers in the human energy fields, right?" "Right. The crown of the head, the center of the forehead, the throat, heart, solar plexus, navel, and abdomen," she added, "is where they are placed." Her seriousness, which I had not yet seen so intense, was powerful. How lovely she was, and how different she was when we were alone. I realized now that by Dr. Jason giving her so much to do, that Rahedra was a knowledgeable woman, probably one of the most outstanding in her field. "Anyway," Dr. Jason said, interrupting my thoughts, "in 3 days the regressions will begin. Once you've seen what happened back then, hopefully you will understand the importance of seeing this whole project through." He smiled. Rahedra smiled. I think I did too, but I'm not sure, because now I was wondering if I could see some of the previously filmed regressions that had taken place. "They would be no more than like watching a television program," Rahedra said. "They would prove nothing nor help you in any way. Besides, a person can be told 1,000,000 times what it will be like, but until one tries it, they will never really know, will they?" She smiled. I didn't even have to tell her that she had come in the back door of my thoughts again. Her smile said it all. The impact of her statement later made me realize that she had used the power of suggestion on me to agree with her on the no need to see other people's regressions. For a moment I had felt helpless, like that unknowing bus driver that hadn't stopped that rainy day 4 days ago, which now seemed like 4 months ago. How far away and unreal it all seemed to me. Well, the second floor is all dormitories and medical and entertainment facilities for our volunteers and staff. You've seen it all, at least all that can interest you. You have 3 more days before the regressions begin. Enjoy them at your will. After that, well, I think destiny has it pretty well figured out," he said. Rahedra grabbed my hand and led me out of the room. Dr. Jason just smiled and turned his attention towards those still trying to do something with the equipment. Without words, Rahedra and I came out of the elevator on the main floor and then exited out the front entrance. "If these sensors can record the images or impulses from my regressions, how will it record the reoccurrence?" I asked blindly. "After you have regressed and learned what you must do, your training in projection will be done. Once you have learned it and can control it, your very own power of recording events while in your psychic body will be sensed by the monitors. You will then be able to project the images to the computer through your psyche at will, as they occur, allowing a simultaneous broadcast of what is happening, just like television," she smiled. "But how? I mean, why would I project to this reoccurrence instead of just going there?" "We need you to project there, so our monitors can record the event and share it with the entire world." If Dr. Jason had not come across the occurrence in the past, he would have never known a reoccurrence was in the making. If that had been the case, somehow destiny would have seen that you would have been present anyhow, most likely physically present. That would have ruled out recording it, for the place of the reoccurrence is supposed to be so remote, no effective technology could be taken there. And like he said, destiny plans the main event, but the final occurrence and its outcomes are left up to the individuals who partake in the occurrence. Dr. Jason was an Akashic traveler who happened to get involved in this occurrence, and by having the way and means to impact the results, well, he did just that. How would I have ended up at this occurrence if he hadn't changed it around? And when exactly is it supposed to come? It's supposed to happen this summer. And as far as how you would have gotten there, we're not so sure of that, for Dr. Jason changed the particulars of the occurrence before they happened. It's like a story. You know the plot, but every word has to be developed and written one word at a time to give it meaning. An author can change a word any time he desires. Do you understand? "Yeah," I nodded. "It's something you know, but can go around in circles trying to explain. Rahedra, what is destiny?" "Creation," she answered. And before I could continue, she smiled. "Creation cannot be explained, only possibly somewhat understood." I plopped myself down on the grass by the exercise area. Rahedra joined me. "Listen, don't be so serious," she said. "Your destiny was merely sophisticated and rearranged a bit. Just think, if it hadn't been, we wouldn't be together here right now," she teased. "Thank destiny for allowing us the individuality to rearrange and change forever," I stated in political gesture. Destiny doesn't mind. After all, things ultimately end up or finish the way destiny planned them. Creation won't care about leaving small particulars to us. That's part of the right of an individual spirit to have the capability of deciding its own desires or actions. But what must be remembered is that we are responsible for our karma, and we believe that your karma is to be at the occurrence. Ours is to help you get there. Will Dr. Jason or anyone else be with me when I project to this place? We will be running the equipment. You'll be alone. But we'll be watching over your body while you are projecting, and we will be seeing what you see on the viewing screen. I suddenly sat up. Have you ever projected? I asked, excited. Yes, she said quietly, wrestling me back down on my back. Why don't you go too? I asked. Destiny had it planned for you only. If I go, we're trying to change the plan itself rather than just changing particulars. If it were my destiny to have actually been there, it would have been in the Akashic records. It wasn't. I wondered if Rahedra and I would have met eventually, but I realized probably we would have. Don't be so pensive or analytical, she said strongly. Accept things as they are, but also see them for what they may have been or can still become. That is accepting destiny. That is accepting creation. Okay, I'll try, I smiled. Hey, I said, what is it like to see 360-degree vision? Humanly inexplicable, but you'll soon see. Yeah, I imagined, lying back down. Only Rahedra's words could have taken me so far away from all the metaphysical concepts flashing through my mind. Yet again, only Rahedra could have brought me to them. I wondered. No, I didn't wonder. I think it was that I had fallen in love again, or was somehow still in love with her, who had been my love before. We had been together and loved each other before in past lives. I sensed it. If you were there in my past lives, why can't you be there during the reoccurrence? Because I wasn't at the occurrences themselves, she said. I wasn't there for those particular parts of your past lives. So what is this reoccurrence? I asked again, sneakily. You know, I told you, I don't know either. Only Dr. Jason knows. He said the occurrence, when shown to us all, shall truly astonish and amaze the world. And he'll be telling you to keep the actual location of the reoccurrence quiet until it actually happens again. This way, it will be proven publicly without bias. There is much more to this than just us finding it out, she said. There are some particulars that Dr. Jason changed, which he believes will improve the outcome of the occurrence. But since he didn't know until he actually found out 4 weeks ago, he felt that this is how it was meant to be. He has told me he built and worked with freedom for all these years, not knowing of this reoccurrence. But if he had known, he says he may have emphasized too much on the occurrence, and the rest of the projects would never have been. He believes destiny led him to this late in the development of freedom. That way freedom would be strong, willing, and ready to accept and go forth with the research, while having a strong foundation to see that it would go through. In other words, his sponsors and financiers gave him money to research humankind's growth in the psychic and spiritual areas. They would never have given him the money on a speculation of just one occurrence in destiny. Now, after 4 years of proper research, his financiers don't ask questions. Do you get it now? Logical brain, she ended. Kiss, kiss, I smiled. Only if you quit asking questions that you know will be answered better through experiencing it yourself. You've got a deal, I said. For the next 3 days, we'll just be together, no questions asked, I added. Let's go camping, she said. Great idea, I joked, kissing her again. I had no doubt that I was definitely and truly in love. I love you, too, she smiled. You can come in my back door anytime, I laughed. Anytime. It felt good to be with a woman who was strong, beautiful, powerful, and capable of extraordinary things that she made seem simple through her psychic abilities. So you can see auras too, huh? Yes, but only when I wish to. It's like closing or opening my eyes. When I want to see, I open, and when I don't, I close. Have you seen my aura? A couple of times. What did you see? Orange and blue with deep blue-purple. What do they mean? Health, vitality. The blue-purple is for high intelligence and spirituality. Will I be able to see auras? When you project, you will. I don't know if the ability will remain when you are back in your body. So when I project, I can see other dimensions, including this physical one and the psychic things surrounding it? Yes. It's like a spoon of sugar as opposed to sand in a full glass of water. The sand will make the water rise and overflow. The sugar dissolves right into the water itself, able to occupy the same space. So, when in the body, we are like sand, and when in the soul, we are like sugar. When we are sugar or soul, we can heighten the perceptions of the soul and see the other dimensions that are available to a body such as the soul. Whereas, when in the physical body, the other dimensions are not perceivable. Do you follow? Yeah, but, well, oh, shut up, she laughed. Kiss me and I will. We kissed.